We often think of intelligence as something individuals have experts, geniuses, specialists. But sometimes something surprising happens. A large group of ordinary people can make a decision or prediction more accurate than any single expert. This is called the wisdom of crowds. Yet the same crowds that can make brilliant predictions can also fall into panic bubbles and mass delusion. In this video, we'll break down why crowds can be incredibly smart, why they sometimes fail spectacularly, and what this tells us about how human groups actually think. In 1906, a scientist named Francis Galton attended a country fair in England. There, he saw a contest where people guessed the weight of an ox. But something strange happened. Individually, everyone's guess was off, some too high, some too low. But when Galton calculated the average of nearly 800 guesses, the result was almost perfect. The crowd as a whole outperformed every expert. This moment became the foundation of one of the most surprising ideas in social science, the wisdom of crowds. The idea that a large group of ordinary people, if certain conditions are met, can be smarter than the smartest person in the group. But just as crowds can be wise, they can also be disastrously wrong. They can predict the future with stunning accuracy, or create bubbles, panics, and mass delusion. So today we're going to explore why crowds can be brilliant, why they sometimes fail, and what this teaches us about human decision-making. Let's start with the basic question: why can crowds be wise in the first place? The magic comes from something simple: diversity of errors. When many people make guesses independently, each person is wrong in their own unique way. One person guesses too high, another guesses too low. When you average all these guesses, the errors cancel each other out, leaving behind the underlying signal, the truth. It's like noise canceling. Everyone's mistakes interfere with each other and disappear while the real information remains. This phenomenon appears not just with oxen, but with estimating the number of jelly beans in a jar, predicting elections, forecasting weather-judging distances, and even estimating economic outcomes. In many cases, a diverse group of non-experts can outperform trained specialists. So how does this work? It turns out there are 4 essential conditions that make a crowd intelligent. The first is diversity. A crowd needs different perspectives, different backgrounds, different ways of thinking. If everyone thinks alike, they'll make the same mistakes, and the average will be just as wrong as any individual. The second is independence. People must form their opinions without being influenced by others. If everyone looks at everyone else's guess before making their own opinions start to cluster errors, pile up, and the crowd becomes collectively biased. The third is decentralization. Everyone should rely on their own local information, not on a single authority or central figure telling them what to think. And the fourth is aggregation. There must be a way to combine everyone's guesses, like averaging voting or using mathematical algorithms, so the group's collective intelligence emerges. When these 4 conditions are met, the crowd is astonishingly smart. When even one breaks, the wisdom collapses. Let's look at real-world examples where crowds shine. Prediction markets where people bet on outcomes often outperform political experts, pollsters, and analysts. Wikipedia, written by millions of volunteers, rivals expert encyclopedias in accuracy. Statistical ensemble models, which combine many predictions, routinely beat even top-performing individual models. And even simple crowd-based estimates, like asking 1,000 people to guess an object's weight, consistently show remarkable accuracy. So far, crowds seem like a miracle of human psychology. But now we need to talk about the other side when crowds fail. Because while the wisdom of crowds is real, the madness of crowds is just as real. Everything that makes a crowd wise has a dark opposite. The moment independence breaks, you get herd behavior. The moment diversity disappears, you get groupthink. The moment decentralization collapses, you get echo chambers. The moment aggregation is manipulated, you get bubbles. Let's examine the first major failure mode: social influence. Humans are social creatures. We look at what others are doing and adjust ourselves to match. When too many people anchor their opinions to what others think errors no longer cancel out, they reinforce each other. One person guesses too high, others copy them, and suddenly the whole group drifts in the same wrong direction. This is how rumors spread, how misinformation goes viral, and how coordinated mistakes emerge. The second failure mode is lack of diversity. If everyone comes from the same background, shares the same beliefs, and sees the world in the same way, they will make the same kinds of mistakes. Diversity isn't just a moral concept, it's a mathematical necessity for crowd intelligence. A crowd of identical thinkers is not a crowd, it's an echo. The third failure mode is the echo chamber, something social media amplifies dramatically. Algorithms feed us more of what we already believe, which narrows our worldview and reinforces our biases. A group that all sees the same information becomes predictable, rigid, and wrong. Instead of a wide range of perspectives, you get intellectual monoculture. Then there's the phenomenon of groupthink, when social pressure discourages dissent. In groupthink, people stay silent, even when they believe the group is wrong. Important information gets hidden. Blind spots grow. And the crowd becomes dumber than any single person inside it. Now we arrive at one of the biggest and most dramatic failures of crowd speculative bubbles. History is filled with examples. The Dutch tulip mania in the 1600s, the dot-com bubble in the late 1990s, the housing market crash in 2008, cryptocurrency bubbles, meme stock surges. In each case, a crowd didn't become wise, it became emotionally synchronized. Fear and greed took over. Instead of independent guesses, everyone copied everyone else. Instead of balancing errors, the crowd amplified them. The result wasn't accuracy, it was collective hallucination. This is the nightmare version of the wisdom of crowds, the madness of crowds. So how do we tell the difference? How do we know when a crowd is wise and when a crowd is dangerous? To understand this, we need to go back to the conditions that make a crowd smart. True wisdom arises when people think independently. Bring diverse perspectives, rely on local knowledge, and have their ideas aggregated fairly. Crowd failure happens when these conditions break. When everyone copies each other. When diversity collapses. When a single influencer dominates. When information flows through narrow channels. When dissent is punished. When emotions overpower judgment. So the wisdom of crowds is not automatic. It's not guaranteed. It's not something crowds naturally do. It has to be designed or at least protected. This leads to one of the biggest insights: crowds are smart only when the structure around them is right. Here's how to think about it. Crowds give us breadth. Experts give us depth. We need both. Crowds help reveal general patterns and aggregate knowledge that no single person has. Experts provide the specialized understanding needed to interpret and refine that knowledge. When they work together, you get something truly powerful. This principle shows up in modern systems everywhere. Prediction markets combine many independent opinions to forecast events. Ensemble methods in AI combine multiple models to reduce error. Corporate decisions often use group voting systems to avoid blind spots. Platforms like IMDb or Amazon use millions of ratings to produce reliable averages. Even science itself is a kind of crowd, thousands of researchers combining their independent findings into a coherent picture of reality. But the key is independence and diversity. Without them, crowds don't just lose accuracy, they become dangerous. So what does the wisdom of crowds teach us? It teaches us that intelligence is not just an individual property, it's a group property. It teaches us that knowledge is often hidden in small pieces across many people. It teaches us that disagreement and diversity are not problems, they're essential. It teaches us that independence is precious and fragile. And it teaches us that systems must be carefully designed to keep crowds wise and prevent them from collapsing into madness. In the end, the crowd can predict the truth, or it can run off a cliff. The difference depends on structure independence and diversity. The crowd is wise, but only under the right conditions. And understanding those conditions may be the key to making better decisions as individuals, as groups, and as a society. If this video helped you understand why crowds can be both wise and dangerously wrong, remember this collective intelligence isn't automatic. It depends on independence, diversity, and how information flows. When those conditions break, wisdom turns into herd behavior almost instantly. If you want more videos that turn complex ideas from psychology, science, and society into simple, clear explanations, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and tell me what topic you want explained next. Thanks for watching Plain Explain, where deep ideas become easy to understand.